What is it that Jalen Hurts gets hurt the last 3 games, and he all of a sudden comes off as not even an MVP candidate? It's Patrick Mahomes, it's this guy, it's that guy. I mean, this guy was the best quarterback all season long. Jalen Hurts was. He was on the best team in the NFL, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt and he's out of the talks as an MVP.
First of all, Jalen Hurts was not the best quarterback the whole year.
Patrick
Mahomes was the best quarterback the whole year by any metric you can possibly use.
Is it because of the yards that he thrown?
It's because of the everything. It doesn't matter what metric you use. You want to use yards. You want to use touchdowns. You want to use DVOA from our site. You want to use expected points added from other sites. You want to use PFF grades. You want to use no matter what you want to use. Patrick Mahomes was the best quarterback in the league this year, period. Jalen Hurts had a really good season. His team had more wins. But that's because Jalen Hurts played with a better running game and a better defense, much better defense than what Patrick Mahomes played with.
Well, hold on one second. The Kansas City Chiefs were ranked what in defense this year?
Total defense, they're in the middle.
In our ratings, 24th.
24th. So they weren't rated in any kind of way. Weren't they run defense? They were
run defense. They're really good this year. I think they're 7th. So,
but that's okay. But if you're using the official NFL rankings for run defense, they're moronic because it's based on total yards. Do you know what you don't do when Kansas City is
yards
beating you by 21 points? You don't run the ball. Okay. So that's not their run defense you're measuring. That's their offense that you're measuring.
That's an interesting way to put it. So
it is.
I want to go back to the All-Pro votes. So again, some of the within restrictions that you can do, some of the players that you wouldn't have expected to be voting for in those spots this year.
It's hard because I'm not supposed to say who I voted for.
No, again, within the restrictions you can. Within the restrictions you can.
I'll come out with a whole article about who I voted for and why. And I can tell you there were the hard decisions. The second team wide receivers. This was the first year that we ever actually voted for the second team. Like you actually voted for twice as many guys. And then they're actually going to announce a second team. There were a lot of receivers who I would have considered for those spots. T. Higgins and Devontae Adams and Jalen Waddle. And I mean, Hill and Diggs and Justin Jefferson. Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. There's just a lot of really good receivers this year. It was really hard to make a decision. The other vote that was the hardest to make was Coach of the Year because so many coaches did a really good job this year. Dable and O'Connell in Minnesota and Sirianni and Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll and Doug Peterson. Like, you could only vote for 3 of those guys, and that's different, right? We used to only vote for one guy for an award. Now you rank 1 through 3 so that if a guy gets more second-place votes, he could win the award. So I got to vote for 3 guys, but out of that whole group, you still have to, there are really good coaches who did a really good job this year that you couldn't vote for. So that was very difficult.
We are talking to Football Outsider editor-in-chief Aaron Schatz. You look at the league and some of the young quarterbacks. You were mentioning Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert we spoke about. There are quite a few quarterbacks coming out of this year's draft. Is there any quarterback that really sticks out to you going into this year's draft? C.J. Stroud, obviously Bryce Young, that you think could be the next upcoming star in the NFL?
Well, I'll tell you that I'm not a draft expert by any means. I'm not a scout, and I pay much more attention to guys once we know which team they're going to be on.
Right.
That being said, our early sort of statistical projections are not that high on this year's class.
Interesting.
In part because you have to consider with Stroud and Young how much talent they got to play with. Right? Like, you got to discount a little bit how good they were in college because look at the receivers and offensive linemen they got to play with and how highly drafted those guys are going to be.